Howdy, y'all, Fuzzy Biker here. We are glamping here in Gateway, Colorado. Gateway glamping, I think is what it's called, but look what I got over my shoulder. How's that for a blast from the past? I had a 2021, that is a 2022. That's actually one of the colors I would have wanted to have. That is a Royal Enfield Himalayan 411, the air-cooled model, the Airhead. And I had one of these. I had it for 3 years, put over 31,000 miles on it. I was not gentle with it. We call it lovingly the tractor. You know, it's got lots of low-end torque. It's got, let me think about this, 24 horsepower. I can't remember the torque number. It wasn't a very high number. Let's say 27 foot-pounds of torque. I don't know what that is in Newton meters. It weighed about 440 pounds, if I remember correctly. And I'm not sure what that is in kilograms, but probably around 200 kilograms or so. It's a monoshock bike. I'm going back to the engine. So air-cooled, single overhead cam, 2 valves, one for exhaust, one for intake. Very easy to adjust. I used to do my own adjustments on it, just a lock nut and a screwdriver. And fuel injected, of course. Look at that pipe. 5-speed transmission. When I had mine, I left it all stock, the engine-wise anyway. Exhaust, all of that was stock. I left it that way on purpose because I wanted to see how it ran over the time. Again, monoshock. It's got about 7.1 inches of travel on the back. I think that's 180 millimeters. I think that's a 240 disc with a single piston bi-brake caliper on the rear. Aluminum rims, these are actually the stock tires coming up here to the front. 41 millimeter tubes with I can't remember, maybe 8 inches of travel, about 200 millimeters. 21-inch front tire with a 300 millimeter disc, if I remember right. Dual piston bi-brake calipers. Really a blast from the past. I mean, look at this thing. One of the distinctive features of this motorcycle, besides this extra fender on the top, were these racks right here on the side, and the headlight that was always pointing forward. That's the same thing on the new Himalayan over yonder. And of course this shorty windshield. Running back this way was a tank, that kind of like a Continental GT tank, but smushed up, and then of course this, I don't know what this color is called, the pine or something like that, but this was one of the ones I considered buying, this color. There it is, Himalayan right there. Next would be the step seat. I think the seat height was about 31.5 inches, about 800 millimeters or so. And then the step up, 2-part seat, rack on the back, close-in blinkers. Here's the rear end of the bike. Isn't that neat? I just love these things. My all-time favorite motorcycle was the Royal Enfield Himalayan, this 411, until I got the new one, the 450. But this is really a capable motorcycle, chain drive, loads of rear suspension, 5-speed transmission, very nice tractor-like 5-speed transmission. I drove a 22, I had a 21, I drove a 22 and had a much smoother transmission. And one of the things Royal Enfield is always doing is they make little improvements, and that was one of the things I think they changed over time. Coming up this way, this is the oil cooler for the engine, air-cooled, oil-cooled, where the fuel goes, of course. This is the famous, or maybe infamous, gauge cluster. So I put over 31,000 miles on mine. It's, it's very nice. It's analog. It's all plastic. It's got the tachometer over here. It's got the speedometer over here. LCD down here. Fuel gauge right there. Now I had the compass over here on mine, and the compass always pointed southeast, and I was just sure I was going to end up in, Florida somewhere, but never happened. On this bike, they put the gear indicator over here. They took it off of here and put it over here. Down here, it's got a clock, temperature gauge, odometer. He's got a little over 1,000 miles on this one, and then trip A and trip B and stuff like that. And that is controlled with, let me see if I can remember. I don't know how that's controlled anymore. Maybe one of these buttons over here, and in the center some lights right there. So the infamous part of this gauge is after you get a bunch of miles on it, like I had, I think I had like 31,000. It rattled. It just rattled. It's all plastic. It's made of plastic parts. It's not TFT or anything that has, solid state things that don't move. It's full of moving parts, so it did make a lot of noise at the end of its run. But I love the gauge. I love the way it looked. I love the fact it was analog. The new one is TFT, but it looks like an analog gauge, so there you go. On this model, I think it was the only year they did it, the 22, they put the Royal Enfield Tripper gauge, and that would give you turn-by-turn directions on the motorcycle. Over here is the flash to pass light, high lows. Even though it's a fuel injected bike, it had a choke. Now my bike had that, and I never used it, and I'm not sure why that, what it was for. Here's the blinkers, the horn, jumping over to this side, kill switch, hazard lights, and the start button right there. Of course, fuel, brake, Over here is the clutch. This bike was loads of fun. Like I said, it was my favorite bike of all time until I got the new Himalayan, the 450. On my bike, I used it for, I did all kinds of off-roading. I mean, thousands of miles of, you know, what we called Class B roads, rutted, crappy roads. Not quite as bad as the ones we have here in Colorado, where this bike, this is from Gateway, Colorado. But look at this beautiful scenery right here. The sun's catching it right over there. You know, absolutely beautiful all the way around. Not a bad view anywhere here. Absolutely fabulous. So they may have some rougher roads here. I took mine on a lot of trips, you know, a couple 200, 300, 400 mile trips. My longest trip, I did 644 miles in one day, and I did it by accident. I was camping in Missouri. I went down to Arkansas. It started to rain. I turned around, went back into Missouri. I was going to get a campground, hotel, you know, and I kept driving and driving. I was having so much, I love to ride motorcycle. I was having so much fun riding. Next thing I know, I was in Iowa. It's 9 o'clock at night in Iowa. And the last 50 miles of that ride, I did catch rain. And I had the bigger windshield on mine. I had a great big windshield in the front of mine. I called it the barn door. So, you know, I was well protected. But fabulous motorcycle. I just, you know, at the time I bought my Himalayan 411, I had, you know, dozens of motorcycles, dirt bikes and street bikes and all that. And what I fell in love with was the fact that it was so, you know, it had a 21-inch front tire, so it was so stable. It had, you know, 58-inch wheelbase. I can't remember what that is, 1,500 millimeters maybe. You know, it had a great suspension with loads of travel. I could take it on the pavement, and when I got somewhere where I, you know, wanted to get off the pavement, dirt, sand, whatever, I would just go, you know. It wasn't that great in sand, but I never had good tires for that. But it was just a fabulous motorcycle in that sense. The one thing it would not do, its Achilles heel, so to speak, is it would not go fast. And by that, you know, it would not go 100 miles an hour. It would not go, I think its top speed was 85 miles an hour. I can't remember, about 80, 85. And that's, you know, on flat ground or maybe with the wind at your back. One of the other things, if you were traveling with friends, you weren't going to be leading the pack if you were racing or doing anything like that, you know. But anyway, it was a fabulous motorcycle. It is a fabulous motorcycle. I think these are going to be classics. I think they are going to look for these in years to come, and people are going to, like me, are probably going to rebuild them, you know, to get back our dream of how how things were, you know. And of course, the new ones now are the Royal Enfield Himalayan is right there, the new 450 with 40 horsepower and more capabilities and all that neat stuff. This is what I'm riding today, my Hot Rod Bear. There's some stories going on with that one right now. Good ones, very good stories. Anyway, so I walked into a convenience store here in Gateway, Colorado, and I was pumping gas, and this guy comes out, and I thought he was going to ask us to move our bikes or something, and he wahooed me. A follower of the channel, his name's Dave, and that really made my day. I mean, that really made my day. Feel good about that. And the better part about that story, he's a real good guy, is he gave us all kinds of info on where to stay. We're glamping right here, Gateway Glamping, I think it's called, or something like that. We rented a tent. And then he started giving us information on where to ride, because he rides out here, you know, and all kinds of good roads, gravel, off-road, on-road, pavement, and where we're at, it's kind of a center of a motorcycle universe for somebody like me, you know, somebody like me would like. And so he did that. So we booked the hotel for a second night, because that's the kind of guys we are, I guess. Now, if y'all are interested in a brand new or used Royal Enfield Triumph classic British bike of any type, need parts, accessories, thingamajigs, doodads, you know the deal. Helmets, gloves, boots, socks and underwear, anything at all. Get yourself over to Baxter Cycle in the mighty mini-tropolis of Marnie, Iowa, or go to baxtercycle.com. Tell those fine folks that Fuzzy Biker sent you. That's me. Hit like and subscribe. Now, it's a beautiful day out here. We've had a fabulous ride. Get yourself off the couch, get out of that easy chair, get out there and ride that motorcycle. Life is good, my friends. Wahoo! Hey y'all, Fuzzy Biker here in Gateway, Colorado. I went to get some gasoline, and this guy right here, his name's Dave, asked me to move my motorcycle. Can you believe that? Not really. He came out and said, Wahoo! So 1, 2, 3, Wahoo!